Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gran Turismo 6 No Money Challenge. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, I recommend you watch those before watching this one. Anyways, I welcome you back to the world of Gran Turismo 6. Only if there was a faster way to progress through the game, besides grinding out all the events my cars are eligible for. But now that I think about it, maybe there is a way. Or I'm just becoming impatient, who knows. Anyways, I updated the game so I can access the Sierra Time Rally, and boy, let me tell you, it was a long and painful process.
It's been 3 hours already.
So, after all of that painful waiting, I can finally access the Sierra Time Rally.
Okay, I have no idea how this is possible, but I got 1 million points on my literal first attempt,
which allowed me to get the Abar 500 with all the upgrades already installed. I also did it with the Scirocco and the absolute nightmare that is the Ferrari GTO. That credit amount is definitely not tempting. Anyways, let's go do National A-Class events. Let's start with 500 Performance Points Clubman Cup. But first, let's change our car to something faster, like the KTM Crossbow Street. Enough of stalling, let's do the event. The first race is at Matterhorn Rottenboden. So let's see how I do. So the first corner came around and I managed to overtake the 350Z with ease. The next braking zone came around and I managed to beat the NSX with no problem. This tricky corner came around and I managed to catch up to the Audi S4 and overtake it. This section of the track came around and the video pretty much speaks for itself. Insert explosion here. After that, the NSX overtook me. But then I managed to overtake it back on the next braking zone. And then I managed to overtake the S4 on the next corner. The Corvette braked way too early on this section, which allowed me to overtake it. Another tricky corner and I managed to beat the R34 Skyline. And then it took me a bit of time to catch up to the M3. But once I did, it was very easy to overtake it. This twisty section came around and I easily overtook the Evo 8. The braking zone came around and I overtook the S-Type with not too much difficulty. Now, all I had to do was overtake the Mustang, which honestly was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I learned my mistake from the previous lap and I remembered to carefully drive on this section. But the same cannot be said about the final lap. But anyways, I just cruised to the finish line and took home the victory, and earned a well-deserved 3 stars. The second race is at Rome Circuit. Not even the first corner came around and I easily overtook the RX-7. And then I overtook the Corvette and also caught up to the Z4 and overtook it. This section of the track came around and I managed to out-accelerate the Supra, if that's even an actual word. And then it took me a while to catch up to the Evo 8. This section of the track came around and I managed to catch up and overtake the Evo and the RS6. And then it took me a long while to catch up to the other 3 racers. I broke way later than the AI on this section, which allowed me to overtake the Elise and the C5 Corvette. And then I managed to overtake the M3 with not too much difficulty. This car was so OP that I managed to keep my lead for the whole race. And I've earned 3 stars as a reward. The third and the final race is at Mount Panorama, or also known as Bathurst. The first straight came along and I managed to overtake the NSX very easily, along with the vacuum cleaner right in front of it. This section of the track came around and I managed to catch up to the RX-7 and overtake it with no problem. The next corner came around and I managed to beat another NSX. The next corner came around and I managed to overtake the XKR and the Challenger. And then once again it took me a bit of time to catch up to the Evo 8. But then I managed to overtake it on this corner. And now all I had to do was to catch up to the M3 GTR, which was easier said than done. But then this braking zone came around, which allowed me to catch up to the M3. And now, before you ask, yes, I had the balls to get the secret achievement during this race. Now, because of my stupidity, I am now back in last place. I pretty much instantly overtook the 350Z, and then I managed to beat the Challenger on the straight and overtook the vacuum cleaner on the braking zone. On the next corner, I managed to overtake the NSX and the Mazda RX-7. Then I overtook the XKR 5 seconds later. And then it took me a bit of time to catch up to the other 3 racers. But once I did, they were very easy to overtake them. And then I overtook the Evo 8 for the 4th time in this episode and gained back my lead. And I've also found this while editing. But anyways, I just cruised to the finish line and won the race. And earned 3 stars. And yeah, that's 500 PP Clubman Cup. Now, the question is, which event should I do next? First off, I tried to do Night Masters, where I found out that the S2000 identifies as a glow stick. Bad jokes aside, no matter what I did with the S2000, I was just too fucking slow. But speaking of unbeatable, there's no fucking way I'm doing Gornergrat League, given that I would be competing against high-end performance rally cars. Next up we have Clubman Kart Cup 100, which this one I can't do because of obvious reasons. Next up on the events list is NA Sports Series, which I can actually do this one, but not with the KTM, but rather the S2000. Enough of talking, let's do the event. The first race is at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So let's see how I do. So the first corner came around and I managed to catch up to the Camaro and overtake it using some dirty tactics. The braking zone came around and I managed to catch up to the Evora, but not quite enough to overtake it. Now, I know this dirty tactic is gonna make me look bad, but hey, I have to do what I have to do to win. Then the first straight came along and you know what that means. Time to turn into a roadblock, which is what I would have said if it wasn't for the huge braking zone right up ahead, allowing me to build a bit of a gap over the Evora and gain some time to spare. Then I tried to catch up to the Hyundai Genesis using Slipstream, but that didn't go too well. And also, the roadblock and the cornering strategies are playing a big part here in this race. I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. You know what? F*** it, I'm doing it. My strategy worked, allowing me to build a large gap between my opponents. And also, my opponents were twice as fast as me, so I had to be really strategic about what I'm doing. The next braking zone came around and I used some clean racing to try to catch up to the SVT Cobra, which worked, allowing me to overtake him on the final corner. And then on the beginning of the second lap, the SVT Cobra tried to overtake me back, but I didn't let that happen. After some more clean racing, I managed to catch up to the roof, but not quite enough to overtake it. And then I tried to overtake the roof on this corner, but that still wasn't enough.
Oh, come on!
It also didn't help with the fact that the roof kept pulling away from me, and I wasn't ready to give up just yet. I took every opportunity I had to try to catch up to those 3 racers and overtake them. The great Tommy Innit once said, "It is harder to stream when, yeah." I used Tommy's beautiful words to encourage myself that I can beat this race. Now, some of you viewers may die from ear rape, but this is a sacrifice that I am willing to make. The strategy worked once again, allowing me to climb all the way up to first place. And the 3rd lap pretty much went as you would expect it to go. Either way, I took home the victory. If this is only the first race, then I have no idea how I'm gonna do the rest of the event. I guess I'll have to try to find out.